Some months I just feel like living in a fairy tale, and within the pages of my journal is my favourite way to do that. I'm taking my May theme underwater, with a combination of foil stickers I made myself, some beautiful mermaid stickers from a sheet from Runa Marudi, and some watery textured papers from JOURNALSAY. Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm not really a water baby, but I do love a mermaid. Let me know what your favourite kind of fairy tale setting is in the comments down below. I think mine is probably in a forest. I got this paper set from JOURNALSAY, and I'm just going to start out by sorting it into the ones I think are a good fit for this theme and the ones that I think are maybe not quite the vibe. Some of them are a little bit more blue. I want to lean more into the aqua green kind of tones here. I also grabbed this tape, but I'm not going to use it. It's a bit too blue because I really want everything to tie in with the tones of this sticker set from Runa Marudi as part of her Patreon subscription. But I really didn't have much in my collection that worked with these things, so I went ahead and made some foil stickers with my Cricut as well, just to supplement things, so I had enough to get me through a whole theme. I screwed up a couple of them, which is why they're somewhat die cut rather than kiss cut for a couple of my weekly headings. We'll talk about that a bit later on. For the basis of my cover spread, I'm going to cut down 2 of these sheets of the watery paper to fit nicely on my traveler size journal. These ones have to be a bit narrower than they'd be for most journal sizes because the traveler's notebook has quite a narrow page. This paper cutter is also from JOURNALSAY. I'll have everything that I'm using in this video linked down below if I can. Unfortunately, the set from Runa Marudi isn't available for individual purchase. It was part of her Patreon subscription for July last year, so this one's a little bit older. And I only had that one beautiful die-cut mermaid we're about to put on the right page here, and also a sticker sheet, and that had to get me through the entire theme, so you see why I needed to supplement with some stickers I made myself. I'm being a bit fussy about making sure those paper pieces are perfectly aligned because I want them to look very cohesive, and this mermaid I think is my favourite of the stickers I made myself. I got all of these elements just about from Canva. I don't have a Cricut Access subscription, but I do have a Canva Premium subscription, and I'm not afraid to use it. I actually have a dedicated video about how I made these stickers with my Cricut coming to the channel soon, so stay tuned for that one. And I have to give a huge shout out to my channel members for helping me decide on this theme for May. We were actually doing a live stream deciding on my theme for April, and we came across these stickers in my collection, the Runa Marudi ones, and my channel members said, you should definitely do a theme with those, but it should be May for MerMay. And I was like, that's genius. And so I filed that idea away, and now here we are executing it. It's just made me so happy. We have a monthly live stream that is just for channel members, so if you want to get in on that action next time, you can check out the join link down below. I'm working with some fairly large stickers here, so I was having a bit of trouble with my placement. I think we'll just leave the cover spread there for now, and we'll come back at the end with whatever stickers I have left over and fill in the rest. Let's get on to the calendar spread now. I started to rule out the lines for it, and then I realized that this particular pen, the Tom Studio pen with the ink I have in it, will smudge if I do all my black lines first and then immediately add color. So I'm adding the color first and then drawing the black lines over the top. I'm still working my way through the black ink samples that I received from Tom Studio along with my 2 pens. They come with a little ink sample, but when I finish those up, I'm definitely going to be refilling these with waterproof ink. As usual, my calendar planning boxes are 4 dot grid spaces tall and 4 dot grid spaces wide, but I've added an extra dot grid space on the top of each box so I could factor in that color, bring in a little bit more color to my spread, and have a dedicated space to put the number for each day. I fully intended to make little MTW Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday stickers for this calendar with my foil stickers as well, but I just forgot, so I'm using a grabby gold marker to add those on by hand instead. The spaces left over from my calendar are the natural place to want to decorate, so I'm going to use the same system as from the cover spread. I'll put down some of this watery paper and then just anchor all of my stickers around that. I also have a bit of an awkward gap at the bottom here. I'm not super sure yet what I'm going to do with that, but we'll have to see what works. The colour scheme being this kind of greenish tinged blue and this orangey red kind of a tone from these sticker sheets is actually reminding me of when that colour palette was very trendy for photography on Instagram. I remember that being just such a huge deal. I found this washi tape in my collection and I just want to see if it's going to work here. I think it kind of gives a bit of a seaweed vibe. I think that's close enough. It's more towards green than blue, but it's also very subtle and it does have a gold foil to it as well. So I think that's going to be the secret element that I needed to really tie this spread together. This one actually came with a set from JOURNALSAY, if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't have any of the other tapes anymore, and I had just enough left of this one to get me through this theme, so that was really lucky. You can never underestimate the power of a tiny sticker because they come in so handy. I made this little school of fish and each one is individually cut. They barely have any visual weight because they're just white fish with a gold border, but the little bit of texture they bring to this right side along this column of watery blur is perfect. I love how that's just tied the whole spread together. That's the calendar spread done. Let's turn the page and move on to the next one. In my April spreads, I condensed a few spreads that I had been doing as full spreads for themselves. How many times can I say the word spreads? I was giving these planning spaces 2 pages each, and I condensed them into a single spread, so just 1 page each for April. And since I am still going to be traveling for half of May, I won't be taking this journal with me. I won't be using it for the first half of May. I'm going to keep them nice and small for this setup too. On the left side, we're having my little dashboard check-in with myself page. I have sections here for goals, favorites, anticipating, and working on. So specific things I want to do, things that I'm enjoying in the month, things that I'm looking forward to in the month, and things that I want to improve on or practice in that month. And the facing page that we're adding some little watery corners to at the moment is for what I learned this month. So anything that I go, I didn't know that before, I will just make a little note of it here. I may need to start that in my phone since I won't be with this journal for the first half of the month and fill it in retroactively, but I'm okay with that. This traveler's notebook, I got it from the Notebook Therapy Lucky Bag in 2024. It has 35 dot grid spaces from top to bottom, so it doesn't divide perfectly into 4. So I've made each of my sections on that left page 8 dot grid spaces tall, and that's left me with a little bit of space left over at the bottom to add some decoration. I really wanted to use 2 different colours for those second line highlights so I could really differentiate those sections. I've gone with the 291 for the slightly brighter, greener version and the 491 for the bluer, slightly softer version. Those are both from Tombow, the dual brush pens. In case you were wondering, the font I've used for all of my headings for this theme is called A Auto Signature, and I chose it because I knew it would work well with the Cricut foil. Technically, it only foils the outside edges of your lettering when you choose a font, so this one is nice and thin, which means that those lines would be very close to each other, therefore it would look almost like a single line, which is what I wanted. I actually slightly regret the placement of this little seaweed sticker that I'm adding here. I don't think it needed it. I think we could take that one off and things would be just fine, but it's there now and I'm just gonna let it stay there, I guess. Let's move on to the next spread. This one is actually very important for me. This is my content planner because I'm trying to pre-schedule all of my videos to go live while I'm away on this holiday, and this is going to help me stay on track with that process. So I'll actually be using this spread quite a bit before the month even starts, which is unusual. The process of making my videos is fairly similar from one to the next, so I have this kind of running to-do list, this Alastair method grid here, which allows me to just write out the to-do list of making my videos, the workflow, on the left side once, and then I have a vertical row for each video where I can tick off those tasks as I complete them. But I got a little too absorbed in my audiobook while I was setting this up, and I forgot that the left side was supposed to have some space just left blank for me to write that to-do list, so now I need to do some erasing of lines. I tried out a white paint marker first and I didn't love the results it was giving me, so I'm going with just some good old-fashioned correction tape and it's going to do the job okay. Since my workflow for video creation doesn't really vary from one month to the next, I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. I didn't find the Tom Studio Lumos pen to work so well over this with the ink that I have in it, so I've switched to my handy dandy Muji gel pen. This pen is amazing. It works so well. I don't usually like gel pens, but I really like this one. And I'm just flipping back a few pages to my April content planner to make sure that I'm not missing any steps. I'm also going to go ahead and add the dates that each of the videos need to go live in that top row as well. And now we can make it pretty, but once again, the space I've got left over to work with for decoration here is a little bit awkward. And given the number of stickers that I have to work with isn't that many, I'm trying to be a little bit sparing with them too, so I'm just going to fill in as much space as I can with some corners of water. Corners of water, that's a weird statement. I always love a torn edge on my scrapbooking papers in my notebooks. I think it makes everything look more romantic and a little bit more lived in, especially when you're working with vintage style ephemera, which I quite often am. But I actually think it works so beautifully on these water textures too, because it looks like the edge of the wave, you know, the froth that comes up if you've got a little bit of the white torn edge showing. It's just perfect. It worked so well. I know a lot of people find tearing their ephemera quite scary because you don't know really how it's going to go. I recommend giving it a little nip with some scissors first in exactly the spot that you want it to start tearing from, and then keep your fingers really close to where you want the tear to be, and then you have a lot more control over how the tearing process goes. So grateful to my sticker making self for having so many of these little fish available, and also the bubbles. They're coming in so handy for filling in bits of space without being really visually distracting or anything too heavy that draws your eye. Just the perfect little space fillers. As I added them though, I realized that I think the treasure I've placed on the left-hand side down low there is not quite low enough. It didn't feel like it was balancing with the treasure map in the top right corner, so I just have to move it down a little bit. Thankfully, it peeled up really well. These are vinyl stickers, so they tend to do that pretty well. Look at that shine! I love it so much! That's it for the monthly pages for May, so let's turn the page and start on our weeklies. As I mentioned, I'm not going to be taking this journal with me on my holiday, so I'm just going to be setting up weeklies that cover the days I'm actually potentially near this journal and using it. And that means I'll only be doing 2 weeklies. And the first one will have some extra days tacked on to the start of it because I'm going to need a weekend, and I didn't want to just give 2 days their own page, so I'm just using a weekly that I can easily adapt. This one divides each page into 6 sections, so in half vertically and into thirds horizontally. Bit tricky to do those horizontal thirds when you've got from top to bottom of the page 35 dot grid spaces. So I've made each of these sections 12 dot grid spaces tall. The bottom one is actually 11, but because there's a little bit of a gutter at the bottom of the page, it looks the same size as the others, so I think I can get away with it. And they're all 8 dot grid spaces wide, with a single dot grid space in the middle to divide them vertically and an extra dot grid space on the outside edge of each page. This is how it would look if you were going to do a normal week, but I'm going to add 2 more in the top left here so I can add in that extra weekend that I need at the beginning here and make this really work for the days that I need it to. Now let's talk about these weekly headers that I slightly messed up. Only the Wednesdays though, I only messed up the Wednesdays. I don't know. I think we all know Cricut Design Space is a little bit wonky sometimes, and when you duplicate an item, which I usually do to make things like this, you know, I'll make a Monday and then I'll duplicate it and change the text to say Tuesday or whatever, it sometimes duplicates without you realizing it, and the layers that are duplicated are sitting under everything and you don't see them unless you're really careful about your layers panel. And for some reason, when I started lettering all of these stickers, I was typing in May 17, May 18, and I was like, wait, that's not actually what I want weekdays. So I went back and changed them. But at some point I duplicated the one that said May 20, I guess, and it didn't disappear. It was still there, and it was attached to my Wednesday the 20th. And so when I sent it to the Cricut, it did both. It lettered both Wednesday and May over the top of each other, and then it cut it out twice because there were two of them, which is why this one ended up die cut rather than kiss cut. And I wasn't about to do a whole second page just so that I could correct these ones, so I got in there with my white acrylic marker and I tidied it up as best I can. So I'm just gonna live with it like that, and it's kind of funny actually. I'll learn from this experience, you know. So I recommend, if you're a Cricut Design Space user, not using the option drag to duplicate things, just use their duplicate button instead. It's much safer. My design has left me with this nice little gap in the right-hand side, so I cut some paper to align with my weekly boxes. I've given that mermaid that whole space to take up, and I'm planning to come back to this spread as well once I know how many stickers I have left, because I want to scatter some tiny ones around. This weekly is going to be much more standard. We're only going to do 7 days on this one. And May very conveniently finishes on a Sunday, so this is going to very cleanly round out the month for us too. The basis of this weekly is actually very similar. We're still dividing each page in the center vertically and dividing it into thirds horizontally, but in a different configuration. So this time, each of those divisions vertically is 10 dot grid spaces tall, and I'm leaving a 1 dot grid space gutter in between each one as a little gap. Clearly we don't need 12 spaces for 7 days worth of planning though, so the ones that have the second line highlight I'm going to use for my weekly planning, and the gaps that are still empty we're going to add some decoration to. This is an adjustment to the Ruthie Journals weekly from the A5s that I always use. I come back to it over and over. It's exactly that, it's just in a traveler's size, and it's got a little gap at the bottom for some very intentional decoration. I don't have a huge amount of stickers left to get me through this spread, so I'm going to decorate it mostly with this paper. I'm going to cut it to size to fit in each of the gaps perfectly, and then just sparingly sprinkle around a few of the stickers that I still have left. I'm really trying to make sure that they reach the whole theme. I still want to go back to the cover spread, and I still want to go back to the weekly before this, so I'm just being very mindful of how I use what I have. I'm also ending up with lots of these little offcuts that are just not quite big enough to fill a space on their own, so I'm going to put some of those together and use those to fill spaces too, because they're already somewhat the right size. I just don't want to waste them. I made a video recently about some graphic design principles that you can apply to your journal pages to make them look a little bit more impactful. I'll leave that linked up here in case you want to check it out, but this is a spread where one of those principles is really important, and it's alignment. Everything here is kind of in an invisible box, and if those invisible boxes don't line up, this spread is going to look very chaotic. So this is one where making sure that all of the headings are in a row, all of the boxes are in the same dot grid row as each other, and even that these watery sections are cut nice and sharp and aligned too, is going to make this spread look a lot better than it would without those things. I don't usually like to be a sticker repeater on the same page, but I still had 2 of these treasure chests left over, so let's just put them kind of far from each other. I also still have a couple of these seaweed sprigs, so I'm going to sprinkle those around too, but mostly it's the stickers from this Runa Marudi sheet that I want to stand out here. I really want to just have a few because I want to use the tiny ones on the other pages, so let's just pop them in the spaces left over, and we're going to leave it at that. Now I know exactly how many stickers I still have to work with, I'm going to come back to the previous weekly and just add all these tiny butterflies just in some slightly random places around the weeklies to tie in the colours to the mermaid on the right side. They also give a nice kind of contrast in that they're very small and she's quite a large sticker, so even though they have similar colour palettes, they make her feel more important and just kind of bring the whole page together. These butterflies actually have no business being under the sea, but here they are, so we're just going to roll with it. And just to make them aware when they swim past that they're not in the right place, I'm going to add some fish too. And now I'm going to take every sticker I still have left and add it to my cover spread because there are some gaps here. It looks okay, but it could be better, starting with this little mermaid tail. I did this one with the bold foil tool, and I don't love how anything with the bold foil tool turned out, so I think I'm just going to boycott that one going forward. And I have just a couple of Runa Marudi stickers left on the sticker sheet, and thank goodness because I do need to tie in this colour scheme some more. And now we can flip through it from start to finish. I'm so excited to spend some of May in this underwater fairy tale. And if you're also a fan of mermaids, I hope you got some inspiration from this video for maybe a potential future journal theme of your own. I'm a little sad I won't get to spend the whole month in these pages, but I'll take what I can get. Don't forget to stay tuned to my channel if you're keen to see my video about how I made my foil transfer stickers with my Cricut. You can hit subscribe if you haven't already. But if mermaids aren't your vibe and you're still looking for some May inspiration, never fear, I have plenty. Here's a link to May in the Mystery Journal, which is all about purple florals, as well as another video YouTube thinks you might enjoy.